Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank all our witnesses for being here as well. It seems to me there are sort of two problems here. There's the fundamental problem, which is, letting men compete against women in sports is just crazy. I love what Governor Huckabee Sanders said in response to the State of the Union. She said, the divide in America today is normal versus crazy. And this is one of those obvious divides. It is crazy to think it's okay to let guys compete against girls in sports. That is just a given. The whole country knows that. Anyone with common sense understands that. But I'm also more concerned, or maybe not more concerned, just as concerned with what happens if you speak out against it, which is exactly what happened to Miss Russell. Because Miss Russell, my understanding is you had you coached what? First you were a Division I athlete, is that right?
Yes, that's
Division
correct.
I lacrosse player, and then you coached for, I think, 20, if I read your thing, 27, 28 years you coached?
Yes.
So you're not just some rookie coming off the street. You've coached a long time. You've had all kinds of success, right? You won awards. I think you run the national program at some other, not in the United States, but somewhere I read in your thing. Where do you run the national program?
The U.S. Virgin Islands.
So you're an accomplished coach, but because you said what was normal, you got fired. Is that right?
Because I said what was normal, it was not liked.
Yeah,
and I was canceled.
I shouldn't say fired. Yeah, you were canceled because you weren't allowed to coach anymore. They moved you somewhere else. I read your testimony last night. They moved you somewhere else in the athletic department or in the university at Oberlin. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I always tell people, don't think they won't come after you, because I don't think you're not some crazy right-wing conservative Republican, are you, Miss Russell? You're just a coach. In fact, you even used the term. What did you say? You're the hippie love coach? That's not exactly how you describe normally not how you describe Republicans. So this is your words. You've been nicknamed the hippie love coach. You work with all your student athletes, even I think you even said some who are transgender.
Yes, I've coached 3 transgender students. And in my support after I spoke out, I have had many gay men, many lesbians, and a group of transgender athletes and people who aren't athletes let me know that they support this. They support that women's sports should stay female only.
Yeah, and they were willing to confide in you because they trusted you. They knew you were a good coach. They knew you were there to help the student athlete. They understood that. They were willing to come, but that wasn't good enough. This is the part that is so frightening. It's never good enough for the left. It's always got to be every single thing they want, or we're coming after you. Even if you're the hippie love coach, they're coming after you. And that's what they did to you. I mean, this is how the left, this is how the cancel culture mob operates. It's a total attack. So this is bigger than, as bad as it is what Miss Gaines described, what she had to go through. And if I remember your story right, Miss Gaines, you won, but you weren't able to be number one because of this Leah Thomas individual. You actually won I mean, bad enough as that is, this attack on the First Amendment and your right to speak out against that is just as bad and just as scary, because that's across the board. And I tell people all the time, you have 5 liberties under the First Amendment. Your right to practice your faith, your right to assemble, your right to petition the government, free press, free speech. The most important one, by far, is your right to talk. Because if you can't talk, you can't practice your faith. You can't share your faith. You can't petition your government. And you spoke out against something that anyone with any common sense knows is ridiculous, and they came after you. That's why this panel, and Chairman, thank you for doing this. This panel and this subject is so darn important, because it's fundamental to who we are as a country. You can't have a country if you're only allowed to say what the left says is okay. And for people who stand up and defend that, they need to, Miss Goss-Graves, I don't know. I wasn't able to be here for all of this, but my guess is you're defending this idea that guys can compete against girls. Maybe not. I didn't hear it, but don't think they won't come after you at some point too. I mean, here's how bad the left is. The left, Dianne Feinstein, liberal, iconic senator for the left, wasn't even good enough for the left. It was the Dianne Feinstein Elementary School in San Francisco. They went back and found something she said 30 years ago, and they said, we got to rename the school. So no one is safe. If they can go after Miss Russell, 27 years coaching for saying something that everybody knows is true, they can come after anybody. And that is a dangerous world to live in. I didn't mean to speak that long. I actually wanted to let you guys talk. Miss Gaines or Miss Perry, if you want to say something, go right ahead.
I think what we're seeing is sort of this philosophical devolution on truth. We've gone from an ontological perspective on truth. Truth is truth no matter how you feel, to a consequentialist approach on truth. Truth is truth so long as it doesn't hurt your feelings. The law doesn't care about feelings. The law is the law so that we have a method of American constitutional governance. And Title IX and the Constitution are very cut and dry. It doesn't matter whose feelings are hurt. And if there are indeed less than 1% of individuals in the country who are transgender, as Representative Garcia mentioned, why the urgency from the Biden Department of Education to suddenly upend 50 years of civil rights protections for biological women who benefit from Title IX? That is throwing the entire canon of civil rights law on its head.
Thank you all. Madam